Hello everyone, it's Marcy again with Then and There, and today I wanted to talk about glue books, mainly my glue book and how I do things. I have my notes here, all the things I want to talk about, so hopefully it's not like if it's a really long video I may just split it up into different parts, but there are some key things that I wanted to talk about. Some people have asked me some questions and some things I've just thought of that I want to mention. First and foremost, the main thing I want to mention, I have to put some chapstick on, sorry, is that I am not an authority. There are no rules with glue books. I mean, they are just whatever you want them to be. If you like something, glue it down. If you like it with something else, glue them down together. There are no rules. If it makes you happy, then do it. I don't make the glue book to please anyone else. It is purely for my enjoyment to flip through and just enjoy the feeling that it gives me and the sense of each page has its own aesthetic, and I guess the feelings that it evokes. Each image, each combination of images, it's all different, and it's different for every person who sees it as well. I don't make a glue book. I'm not making a glue book because and I don't think about it as being something that's trendy. I'm not doing it because, oh, it's trending and a lot of people are doing it and I want the views or anything like that. I started my glue book my first one was probably like 2 years ago, and it took me probably over 2 years, so it was probably longer than that. It took me over 2 years probably, I'm guessing, I don't even know for sure, to fill an entire notebook. I mean, it didn't even have that many pages. It was an insert that I made for a traveler's notebook out of I think it was like sketch paper. I showed it in my first glue book chat video, and I'll link it below if this is your first time seeing me. And it took me 2 years, and I did it because I enjoyed it, and I took my time, and I didn't rush through it, and I didn't have to do any certain amount. I didn't schedule times that I wanted to do it or time I wanted to get it done in, and I didn't plan out pages. It came together very organically, very naturally, as is this one. It is not finished, but I did want to go ahead and show you certain things in it because they're relevant to what I'm talking about. I don't choose pictures from magazines because I think that they're, what is fashionable right now or anything like that. I do it because the picture speaks to me, or the color combinations, or the feeling that, whether it's a feeling of calm, or I wish my kitchen looked like that, or any number of things runs through my head when I'm picking pictures out of magazines, which I have a whole stack here, and I want to talk about that too here in a moment. Before I start talking about the pictures, though, I wanted to talk about tools. One of the main draws to this style of creativity for me is its simplicity. It is very simple. I made a quick notebook just using I don't even remember, it's like mixed media type paper, I think it was. I like the little bit sturdier paper that has some stability to it. I feel like I like the feel of it once it's covered. It's not flimsy. That's just my personal opinion. Some people prefer, copy paper, or, just a notebook they've picked up at the store. And that works. Whatever works for you. So, any notebook. You could even take a magazine and start gluing other pictures on top of pictures in a magazine to get the same effect, if that's the route you wanted to go. The only other tools I recommend having, and that I use, these are the only other tools that I use. Scissors, for if I need to trim something. I use a gift card or credit card or old, some sort of plastic card to press pictures down to get the air bubbles out, which I didn't do from the beginning, but I picked that little tip up from, I believe her name is Karen, I could be wrong, over at Caged Fish. And I will link her down below too, because she has been very just inspiring watching her in her work in her glue books, and just to not to give me ideas of what to do, but just to encourage me that, you know, this isn't, I'm not alone in this. It isn't a weird, it isn't a strange thing. Okay, and then a glue stick. That's all I use. I use an extra strength glue stick because I feel that it holds the glossy papers better than like the school glue. That's just my opinion. If you use school glue sticks or white glue or what have you, and it works for you, more power to you. I do encourage or suggest, it's not really an encouragement, but I suggest having a metal ruler because it works really well, not for measuring. I don't measure things in my glue book, but if I want to trim something and I don't want to take the time to cut it out with scissors, or if you're like me and you can't cut a straight line to save your life, you can just put it on the edge there and rip it off and you get a straight line. It may tip or what have you. It may not be perfectly level, but it's straight. And I personally like rough edges. They don't bother me. I also tear pictures, like just for instance, torn edges like that. I like that. So these are the main tools: your book, your glue, scissors. I like to use the ruler to rip papers. This is another idea that I got from Karen over at Caged Fish, to take a magazine for when I glue. And this is for people who haven't seen my glue book videos already. But you take an image, you put your glue on it, and then you transfer it. This gets sticky. It becomes a mess and you get glue everywhere. As this starts to get messy, turn the page. You have 2 fresh new pages you can mess up, and then you just turn the page again and it's clean again. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Okay, I had to say that. So those are the tools. Very simple. You can use whatever tools you want. That's just what I use. It's easy. I don't have to worry about grabbing a whole bunch of stuff. I have images, book, my tools, and I'm set to go. I can sit and play for however long I want to in my book. Okay, that was that. No. What do I want to talk about next? Okay, let's talk about images. Someone asked me, what is my thought process, like, why do I choose certain images? And that really made me think. Sorry, there's like little gnat, and you'll see flies. It's summer, and it's inevitable we can't keep the flies out of the house. I don't know what that's about. This year seems to be worse than most. Okay, back on topic, Marcia. Images. What I like to do is I will pick up a couple magazines, whether it's from like my library, a thrift store. I don't buy them new off of the rack. They're expensive, and if you're just going to rip them up and all you want them for is pictures, then I'm not going to spend that kind of money on images that I can get for little to nothing or free. My library often has them on a free rack, or they have them for like 10 cents or $1, something like that, for like design magazines and Better Homes and Gardens and things like that. National Geographic, also great sources. Any kind of magazine can be used. I've picked up, like, I'm trying to think of what they're called, but like my parents get these magazines from their insurance company. I don't really know the purpose of them, but they have images in them. So I look through them and I rip things out. I will just sit and watch TV and rip pictures out, and I keep them, if they'll all fit, in this plastic envelope thing here. At the moment, I don't think they're not all going to fit in there because I have too many. But it's just encouragement to put them in the book. If I have too many to fit in there, then I need to glue them in, right? So what do I choose? I personally, this is just me, I don't choose a lot of images of people. I do a few. If there's something about, well, here, I'll just show you in this. I do have a few people, like this specifically. I loved this because it's black and white, and I loved her facial expression and the way she's sitting. It was just an I don't care kind of attitude. And then this girl, this was from a vintage magazine, and I paired it with other vintage images along with the black and white to just remind me that this is a true, authentic vintage image. It is not, you know, a reproduction or a copy or like an impression of a vintage image. This is one case where I used people. Most of my books, or most of my spreads pages, do not have people in them. There's one other that I showed a video of. It has a person in it, and I chose it because it spoke to me. I can't find it at the moment. Here, right here. I loved this because of the colors of it, really, and just the expression and this warm, cozy blanket, and it just made me feel like wanted to curl up in a blanket on a cold winter's day. And so I portrayed that on the page as best I could. Now, other things, this is a prime example of other things that I look for. I look for design elements. That's one thing. Like this page, lots of design elements, florals, you have shoes, handbags, dress, wallpaper, you know, furniture, a lot of things like that I'm drawn to. Let's see, like this one, furniture, color speaks to me. Let's see, aesthetics, like the texture of the wall, or the color of the armchair, or the flow of the dress, things like that. Those are things that speak to me. This one has no specific focal point. It's a mishmash. It's an eclectic collection of color and pattern and florals mixed with solid colors, and that speaks to me. This makes me very happy. I am not a person who loves pink or purple, but this makes me happy because it's just so, in my mind, and in my mind only, I'm the only person that I answer to in this book, this comes together, it flows together, it works together so well. And it took time to build this. It didn't, if you saw some of my previous videos where I was just randomly working, you would see me come to this page, I'd glue down a few pictures, and then I would move on, and there would be large blank white space spots on this page. And I didn't let that bother me. I didn't think, oh, I have to fill that right now. I waited for the pictures to come to me, the images to be found in the books, and then I added them freely and naturally, and I didn't force anything. Just like this. This page over here is done. This has a huge white space. It does bother me a little bit because I want to finish this, but I'm not gonna force an image to go there to make it work so that I can say, oh, that page is done. That's not how I work. Now back to where I was. Back to that other, you know, line of thought. I'm trying to tip it so there isn't too much glare. This image has one main focal point. It has a couple of images. The rest is mostly texture. I wanted to talk a lot about texture and dimension, pattern. These are things that I look for in magazines. For instance, I wanted to show these pictures right here. I would not use her face. It doesn't speak to me, it doesn't interest me, or the faucet. That is not why I tore this picture out. I may have torn it out for something there too. But this I would save because this has great color and texture in the background. This marbling is really nice. This neutral gray I really like. And it's a great thing for filling spaces that I want to evoke a certain feeling, or like for instance in this, it's cool and crisp with this bit of warmth portrayed by the blanket. I don't want to try to oversell my images, or not, I'm not selling them, but you know, like over emphasize why I did what I did. And I'm not trying to say that it's not all that. It's just who I am. It's how I think. And I think not a lot of people, but several people have wanted to know why I do what I do, and a little bit more how I think and why I grab what I grab. Right here, this was a picture of, I believe, a napkin in an image. It was not the focal point. It was in the background. It was not important, but I liked this wrinkled linen texture. So I grabbed it, and I kept it, and I hung on to it until I found the perfect place to use it. Let's see. Well, okay, I was going to talk about this as well. This is the same thing. I love this blue color. I love the scallop edge. I wouldn't use that whole plate. I don't care about the words. Those don't mean anything to me. The color of this tablecloth, though, and the texture, hopefully you can see that. It has beautiful fabric texture, and I love that. Things like that speak to me. There's something I want to hang on to, and I want to use them in a way that either they, what's the word I'm looking for? They enhance an image, or they become the focal points on their own when combined, not on their own, but when combined with other great textures and colors and patterns. I hope that makes sense and doesn't sound too weird. That's where I'm at. That's why I do this, is because of little snippets of images like that I love, and I want to do something with that. So that's where I come from. Now this one is really completely the opposite. This one, I had a kind of a feeling of you know, science and nature and stuff like that, and I used words, which is unusual for me. I don't always do that. So this one is it's different, but it's still me. It's still what my mind pictured, and what I drew from the pictures, and what I wanted to portray, and it turned out just fine. What else? What else did I want to talk about? This one, it's not finished, obviously, but I will continue to gather similar colors, textures, and images that will complete the feeling that I'm trying to evoke. This one has no focal point. It's very busy. There's a lot going on, but it at the same time seems very cohesive to me in my mind. Same here. And I wasn't going to go through and just show you everything. Let me let me go back to my notes. That's why I wrote things down, because I'll just get on a rant and I will completely... Oh, I wanted to talk about this image or this page specifically. I started with this image, and it has the grays, the greens, and the whites, with a tad bit of purple right there, which I didn't even really recognize until I paired it with this page, and these purple flowers drew my eye to that purple. It made it stand out. And in the process, I was also noticing more so these orange flowers, and I think that they're a great complementary colors to the greens, and it breaks it up, and it gives it more interest, because it's not all just green. Like, for instance, that other page that I was just on, which was mostly green. I love that page. I love this page, and it's got a few pops of this teal color in there, which I really like. But I also like this. It's got the woody, natural browns and greens. This is, it's just a different look, and I really like it. And so when I wanted to bring out and draw out that orange, I didn't just put it in one spot on the page. I broke it up, and I layered it, and I put a piece of it on each page to kind of make your eye move around. It makes your eye move around. And look, oh, there's some orange. There's orange. There's orange. Where else on the page is some orange? Where else is some purple? Because your eye sees it before your mind knows it. What else? That helps to make it cohesive. I already mentioned that. Oh, focal, not necessarily focal point, but image. This is one example where I took an image and I cut it in half so that it's in more than one spot. Same as with the orange, I put it in more than one spot. So here we have this rug pattern, which I really like, and I cut a piece of it off, mainly because it didn't fit, it was hanging off, and so instead of just throwing it away or putting it back with my images, I put it over here, and it draws it together and makes it more cohesive. Another example of that was this image here, or this page, where I took this one large image and I literally just tore it in half and put one on each side. So it creates like a window or a scene that where you fill in the gap. And it makes it cohesive and brings the two pages together. Let's see. What have I not talked about yet?